Welcome back to the channel, friends. I cannot stay quiet about this anymore. I am sorry, but I just watched the latest developments with Anna Devane, Sonny Corinthos, and Valentin Cassadine, and my brain is absolutely on fire. Can we be honest about this for a second? The writers are playing a very, very dangerous game here, and I am fluctuating between total admiration for the sheer audacity of this narrative and absolute terror that they are going to ruin one of the most beloved legacy characters in the history of daytime television. When you take a character like Anna Devane, a legendary spy, a former police commissioner, a woman made of absolute steel, and you break her down to the point where she is hallucinating her dead, psychotic tormentor, you better have a flawless exit strategy. And right now, I am not entirely convinced they do, but I am strapped in for the ride regardless. Because let me say this clearly, Peter August is back on my screen, and it is making my skin crawl in both the best and worst ways possible. Wes Ramsey is chewing the scenery as this ghostly, hallucinated version of Peter, and it is a visceral gut punch. But why Peter? Why now? The psychological torture Anna is enduring right now is rooted so deeply in her past traumas, and seeing Peter stand there, smug and manipulative, telling her that she does not need a therapist because she already has him, that is horrifying. It is textbook psychological abuse from beyond the grave. The writers are leaning heavily into the idea that Anna's mind has been completely fractured, while Finola Hughes is acting the absolute house down, playing every single note of this terror to perfection. I am terrified of what this means for her character's long-term legacy. We are watching the systematic dismantling of a hero. So, let us look at the actual plot Peter is pushing. He is actively urging Anna to eliminate Britt Westbourne. Am I supposed to pretend that this makes sense on a surface level? No, but when you dig into the twisted psychology of it, it is a brilliant, sick stroke of writing. Peter is using Caesar Faison's twisted bloodline as a weapon against Anna's fractured mind. He is telling her that all of Faison's children are exactly the same, that they are all monsters, and that Britt needs to be taken out before she becomes the next threat to Port Charles. It is a masterful manipulation because it plays on Anna's deepest, darkest, most historical fears regarding Faison. But what frustrates me, what makes me want to literally scream at the television screen, is that Anna has the ultimate counter-argument right there in her own memories. Nathan West! Nathan was Faison's son, and he was a hero, a good man, a pure soul who gave his life for others. Why is Anna's broken mind not using Nathan to fight back against Peter's venomous lies? Because she is too far gone, and that realization is absolutely devastating. The writers are showing us that Anna's logic centers have been completely overridden by fear and trauma, and as a scriptwriter, I have to respect the commitment to that dark psychological reality, even as it breaks my heart as a fan. We have to talk about how we got here because this did not happen overnight, and I need to give the writing team credit where it is due. The show is finally acknowledging the long-term damage of what Ross Cullum did to Anna. For years, I have complained that this show rushes past trauma, slapping a surgical band-aid on horrific events and expecting characters to just move on by the next sweeps period. But not this time. They are diving deep into the horror of Ross, manipulating her mind, drugging her, and essentially brainwashing her into believing that Caesar Faison was still alive and holding her captive. Do you understand the emotional weight of that? To be trapped in your own mind, believing your worst nightmare has returned to claim you? The show is honoring that trauma, and as someone who studies the structural integrity of soap storytelling, I have to applaud bringing this back to the forefront. It proves that the writers actually remember their own history. The specific mention of Anna being held in that room in Windermere, the very same room where Anna and Robert Scorpio likely held Faison captive years ago, is absolute poetic irony. It is brilliant soap opera staging that rewards longtime viewers who remember the geographical history of Spoon Island. And this brings me to Valentin Cassadine. James Patrick Stewart is doing some of the best, most subtle work of his career right now. Valentin realizes something is fundamentally wrong with Anna. More than anyone else in Port Charles, Valentin understands the specific, suffocating terror of being manipulated. He knows what it is like to be twisted by dark forces. But what makes this so compelling is the overwhelming guilt that is driving him. He knows that Anna was tortured in his family's castle. He is eating himself alive with the knowledge that he could not break into Windermere sooner to save her. He is carrying the weight of her trauma on his shoulders, and it is making him desperate. Remember, this is the man who lost his inheritance to Nicholas Cassadine. The man who has fought tooth and nail for every scrap of power, but right now, all he cares about is the woman slipping through his fingers. Let us look at exactly how desperate Valentin has become. He used a burner phone and called the clinic in France, pretending to be Kevin Collins, just to check on Anna's mental state. That is classic Valentin operating in the shadows, breaking the rules, committing light identity fraud, and doing whatever it takes to protect the woman he loves, even if she pushes him away. But the absolute kicker here is that Anna faked her recovery. She manipulated the doctors, she pretended to be healed, and she escaped that clinic. This is where I have to pause and just scream into the void for a second. How does a world-class psychological facility let a severely traumatized, brainwashed former super spy just fake her way out the front door? I mean, honestly, it is a massive plot hole. It is lazy institutional writing. But I am willing to forgive it just barely, because the dramatic payoff of Anna being loose in Port Charles, completely unhinged and taking orders from a hallucinated Peter, is just too good to pass up. The ends justify the messy means in this specific case, but Anna is not just wandering around aimlessly. She is interacting with people, and this is where Sonny Corinthos steps into the narrative. Maurice Benard and Finola Hughes sharing scenes is always a masterclass in unspoken history. Sonny looks at Anna, and he sees a soldier who is breaking down. When Anna confessed to him that some of the darkness from her captivity has not gone away, you could see the genuine, unvarnished concern in Sonny's eyes. He told her point blank that she needs therapy. Sonny Corinthos, a man who has famously battled his own bipolar disorder and mental health demons, telling Anna Devane to get a shrink is a powerful, grounded moment. It felt real. It felt like two veterans of the mob and spy wars recognizing the invisible scars on each other. So what does Anna do? Does she take the name of the therapist Sonny promised to recommend? Of course not. She completely ignores him. Instead, she focuses on buying land on Emerson Mountain. And not just any land that Sonny owns. What is she doing? Why is she isolating herself in the mountains? If you understand the rhythm of General Hospital, you know exactly what this means. A remote cabin or a secluded piece of land in the mountains is never just a real estate investment on this show. It is a staging ground. It is where a character goes to hide a dark secret, to build a deadly trap, or to completely lose their mind away from prying eyes. Anna is preparing for something terrible, and the fact that she is doing it under the guidance of Peter's ghost makes Emerson Mountain a ticking time bomb. And here is where the storytelling elevates from good to absolutely top tier. Sonny and Valentin, the mob boss, and the Cassadine prince. These two men historically despise each other. They are currently locked in a vicious power struggle over Jen Sidwell's assets. Valentin desperately wants Spoon Island and Windermere back, while Sonny wants Valentin entirely out of Carly Spencer's life. The tension between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. They are rivals in every sense of the word. But when it comes to Anna, they drop everything. I cannot overstate how much I love this dynamic. Sonny and Valentin agreeing to a truce, putting aside their massive egos, their territorial disputes, and their bitter feuds because they both realize that Anna is in mortal danger, is the exact kind of character-driven storytelling that makes me love this genre. It is not about who has the most money or who controls the waterfront. It is about two powerful, dangerous men recognizing that a woman they both deeply respect is drowning, and they are the only ones who can pull her out. When Sonny broke his promise to Anna and secretly told Valentin about her buying the land on Emerson Mountain in absolute confidence, I actually cheered at my screen. Yes! Finally! Characters sharing vital information instead of keeping stupid secrets that drag a plot out for 6 agonizing months. Sonny betraying Anna's trust to loop Valentin in is a massive character moment. Sonny values loyalty above almost everything else. If you tell Sonny a secret, he usually takes it to the grave, but his protective instinct overrode his strict code of silence. He knows that Valentin, with his vast resources, his cunning mind, and his deep emotional connection to Anna, is the best ally he can have right now. This is not just a temporary team-up. This is a desperate rescue mission. And the fact that they are going to search for the truth together is setting the stage for an explosive, unforgettable confrontation. Because let us look at the board right now. We have Anna, armed, dangerous, and hallucinating a monster who is ordering her to kill Britt Westbourne. We have Britt, completely unaware that a legendary spy is currently plotting her demise. We have Sonny and Valentin, forming an unholy alliance to track Anna down on a remote mountain. And we have the looming specter of Caesar Faison's legacy poisoning everything it touches. This is a powder keg. If the writers pull this off, if they manage to weave Anna's trauma, Valentin's guilt, Sonny's protection, and Britt's survival into a cohesive climax, it will be one of the best storylines of the decade. But I am also deeply, profoundly worried. As someone who studies the structure of these stories, I know how easily this can fall apart. If Anna actually hurts Britt, how does she come back from that? You cannot just say she was brainwashed and expect the audience to forgive a beloved legacy character committing a cold-blooded murder. The show has painted itself into a terrifying corner. They are relying on the temporary insanity trope, but they are applying it to a character whose entire identity is built on mental fortitude and absolute control. To see Anna lose her grip so completely is fascinating television, but it is also a massive, terrifying gamble. The writers are walking a tightrope over a canyon of fan outrage,